The Florida Gators are making money at the Senior Bowl this week already.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com today to get started. And as you can see or hear, not at the same spot as always. We are in Mobile, Alabama, covering the Reese's Senior Bowl for 2025. The Florida Gators have 4 players here. Okay. There's punter Jeremy Crawshaw, who had the longest hang time of all punters. There's 2 of them, but had the longest hang time today. That was Jeremy Crawshaw. But there's 3 other position players that are offense, defense, that are here at the Senior Bowl and making themselves money, honestly, if we're being honest about things. And the player making probably the most money is, I would say, Shemar James. Unsurprising. Like, let's put this into perspective. This is the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl is now allowed to have underclassmen participate, and Shemar was immediately in addition. And to be an underclassman participating in the Senior Bowl, you're pretty good. This is a rare thing. Even though they're allowed to do it now, it's not like they just went, okay, we're just going to go get the best draft prospects, all juniors. We're just going to go underclassmen and do this. No, this is still very much the Senior Bowl, okay? The fact that he's here is impressive. He's a Mobile kid. That definitely helps as far as people around supporting him. There were actually, and I was kind of surprised about this, there were quite a few people in the crowd because this is a public event. You are allowed to go there just without being media or in the NFL. But there were quite a few people in the crowd with Gators gear, which was pretty cool. As far as Shemar James being here as a junior is impressive. He looked good in drills, I will say, and I tweeted that during the game, or I sent it to the Insider program. Sorry. I sent it to the Insider program, which if you want to be a part of that, the link's in the description below. We also had a little more information for the Insider program yesterday. But Shemar James looked pretty good in drills. Okay, he did. And that was always the thing. Like, this is the kind of environment, and he has the kind of skill set that will thrive in this kind of environment, because the Senior Bowl is not so much what a defense looks like, right? Because these guys have 3 practices together and then they go play a game. So it's not so much, oh, what kind of cohesive unit do they look like? It's what do you bring to the table? And there's a lot of one-on-one drills at the Senior Bowl with linebackers blitzing and running backs in pass pro, coverage against all different types of players, receivers, running backs, tight ends, all that. And Shemar James, with his athleticism, with his coverage ability, and with his instincts, this is the kind of environment where all that thrives. Because again, you're going to be one-on-one coverage with guys. You're an athlete. You're going to work out there. You're going to have to just there's not a ton of, we're going for big hits. We're trying to make these tackles bring you to the ground, full contact there. So it's about reading and reacting to what the offensive line is doing. If the ball's out quickly or a screen or whatever it may be, how do you react to that? And a guy like Shemar is going to react pretty positively to that. And he's going to look pretty good because of it. Like, he's one of those players we talk about that you make yourself money at the Senior Bowl. He's probably going to make a good bit of it for himself. And I will also say this. So if you don't know, and if you don't know, you are welcome for being told this. Every player at the Senior Bowl meets with every single team. Okay. So if you see a tweet that's Shemar James met with the Tennessee Titans. Sure, I don't know why I picked the Titans, but Shemar James met with the Tennessee Titans. That doesn't mean that the Titans are now more likely to pick Shemar James. That means that he's at the Senior Bowl. That's all that means. Every player will meet with every team. That's how they've done it for, I think, 3 years now. Teams can request multiple interviews. So if you hear, hey, Shemar James has met with the Tennessee Titans multiple times this week, that's relevant. Okay, that's relevant information for you. But to just see, hey, Shemar met with the Titans means nothing. That's completely irrelevant information, holds no value. But I will say this. I spoke to an NFL coach at the Senior Bowl, and from what I spoke to him about and the conversation we had, loved Shemar James' IQ, the interview they had, loved it. Like he was stoked, and he's like, yeah, like this kid, like he's a junior too. We've got a lot of time to work and develop with him so that he can become what he needs to be in order to be successful. So I think Shemar going to make himself some money. I think, by the way, again, like I said, first day of practice was yesterday. I'm recording this after that. He looked really good in it. He did. And he will probably continue to look good. I do think that he's going to participate in all 3 days. We often see guys come in, have a good game or have a good day, maybe 2 good days, call it a day. I don't think you're going to see that with Shemar James because I do think that him being an underclassman means that a lot of NFL teams probably weren't watching him during the season. You know, you can look at a Cam Jackson or a Chim Dike who are also here. You could look at both of them during the season and say, hey, they're going to the NFL this year. So if you're an NFL front office coach, whatever it may be, you would watch them and say, they're going to be in the draft this year. You're probably not going to waste your time watching a guy like Shemar James during the season because you have no idea if he's going to be in the draft. You have no idea if he's going to declare. So why would you possibly waste your time and go, hey, no, he's going back to school, so everything we just watched, wasted. So for a lot of front office members and scouts, this is one of their first experiences watching Shemar James. For a lot of NFL coaches, this is their first experience watching even the seniors. I've told you guys this every year. I speak to NFL coaches and I say, hey, what do you think of this guy? And they're like, oh, like he looked good in practice. And it's like, what did you think of film wise? And they're just like, haven't watched him. This is my first time seeing him. So this is your chance to make a first impression on NFL staff members. He made a pretty good one for day one. I'm not going to lie to you. Like Shemar James looked pretty good. He's going to continue to look pretty good because, again, he's an athlete with good instincts, and that's what thrives here. That's the environment that is bred here at the Senior Bowl. So Shemar James making himself some money here. We are going to talk about Cam Jackson next to talk about more defense, more Gators making money when we get back with Locked On Gators. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook, whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss. FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Download the app or head to fanduel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets that you can spend on the Super Bowl. Just saying, make yourself some money. Go ahead. It's $5. I'm not going to say it's free. It's $5 though. Make yourself some money. That's fanduel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 59. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I mentioned at the end of the last segment, Cam Jackson is one of the Florida Gators that are here. Again, there's 4 Florida Gators that were Gators in 2024. And then there's Trevor Etienne as well and Princely Umanmielen as well. We're not going to talk about them because, well, I don't know if you know this, they're not Florida Gators. So we're not going to talk about them. But Cam Jackson was someone that came in. And by the way, this was a very noteworthy thing that I sent to the Subtext Insiders on Monday afternoon, I want to say, they were doing the measurements for the Senior Bowl, which used to be a whole spectacle. Like, they used to bring the guys up on a stage. And I remember doing this my first 2 years at the Senior Bowl, where we would go to the press room in the convention center, and then we would just sit there. Okay? We would just sit down, and alphabetical order, they would go and they would call players. And so it'd be like, hey, Chim Dike up next. And Chim Dike would walk up, get measured, like height, weight, put his hand on a table, and they'd measure his hand, hold his arms out wide, and they'd measure his wingspan and his arm length. And they would do all that in front of everybody. And it was this entire spectacle. Now they don't do that. The Senior Bowl just tweets out the measurements as they're coming out or as they're doing them. And they tweet them out there and let everybody see it. And Cam Jackson was a very interesting one because he came in lighter than he was listed for Florida, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of guys do the measurements for Florida or any other school, and they come in the summer, do that weigh-in, and then that's their listed weight for the entire fall. So they lose weight when they're playing games and practicing all the time, but their listed weight is their listed weight. And so Cam Jackson came in significantly lighter than he was listed at for Florida, about 20 pounds. And a very rare part, he came in listed taller than he was at Florida. And you almost never see that. Like you always look at measurements from schools and you say, oh, well, they're saying he's 6'1". That probably means he's 5'11", 5'11 and a quarter, somewhere around there. Cam Jackson came in taller and lighter than he was listed at for Florida. Okay. And Cam is in a position to make money because he's a strong run defender already. I mean, I spoke with multiple people today or yesterday, and I was like, hey, for people that were asking me about Cam, I was like, just go back and watch 2023 Tennessee. Just go back, watch 2023 Tennessee, and that's the kind of player you're getting. Because, and I've said this before, and I've said this a million times on the show, and I know that people get tired of me saying it, but I need you to know how good that game really was for Cam Jackson. Like Cam Jackson, 2023 against Tennessee, that was just an amazing game because it is so rare that you can look at a nose tackle and say, you're maybe the biggest individual reason that we won this game. That's an insane thing to say. Because you could say, hey, like it was Austin Armstrong's game plan. The game plan doesn't get executed if Cam Jackson specifically doesn't have the game that he has. Because he just wrecked stuff. You know, defensively, your goal was, yeah, hey, we're going to take the top, or we're going to take away the deep ball. We're going to make them work underneath or run the ball. And when you took away the deep ball, Tennessee is very, we'll say, content to just say, all right, well, I'm just going to run the hell out the ball. I could do that, so why not? And then Cam Jackson stuffed that. And so Cam Jackson, like, that's the game where you watch and you say, okay, this is what Cam Jackson can be when he's at his top. Strong run defender who, I mean, a complete lack of a pass rush skill set is what's holding him back. Production-wise, yes, his pass rush got considerably better this year, but his pass rush got considerably better when Caleb Banks started dominating every man across from him. Same way, basically every other Florida Gators defensive lineman, their stats all got better. Their production all got better once Caleb Banks started dominating. Because Caleb Banks opened everything up. And so when you look at Cam Jackson, you're going to watch his film and you're going to see someone with a not very refined pass rush skill set. But what you are going to see when you come to the Senior Bowl and you watch the one-on-ones against the offensive linemen and you watch the all 22 that you get at the Senior Bowl, and when you watch on TV, I believe practices are aired on TV, I think NFL Network, when you watch that, what you're going to see is Cam Jackson make some plays. Okay, you're going to see Cam Jackson look like I still don't want to say he looks like a good pass rusher at all. I'm not saying that at all. But you watch him have some good reps, specifically in pass rushing one-on-ones, and that helps. And that's the important part for him because that's the part of his game that's been non-existent throughout his career since then. He's never been a good pass rusher. And he might not be one still, right? How often is it that you get those one-on-ones in the NFL or on a football field? How often is it that you get those one-on-ones? Because I tell you what, the answer is not often. Not a true one-on-one in the interior. Because even if you've got just, hey, I'm head up with the guard, guard's going to go, I'm holding you with one hand and the other. And you're going to have multiple offensive linemen along the interior that can have one hand on each because they're helping essentially. They're helping more than anything. So you're not really going to get true one-on-ones. But what Cam Jackson did was he had some true one-on-ones and he won those more often than not. And for a guy with no pass rush production, we'll say, no pass rushing highlights, he made some good plays during the Senior Bowl, during the first game or first practice of the Senior Bowl, which is how you make yourself money. You impress a bit, you impress some more, and then you impress some more. And Cam Jackson impressing in the first day of Senior Bowl practices, specifically rushing the passer, that helps. He got matched up against Willie Lampkin, who, if you don't know, Willie is very small offensive lineman. Very small, like tiny for an offensive lineman. It's about my height. And Cam just bullied him. And you could say, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But in these environments, we see people who you go, oh, yeah, you should do that. And then they don't. And so for Cam, you came out, you looked good as a pass rusher, just in general, but also you dominated the matchups that you were supposed to dominate. That helps you. That's how you make some money for yourself at the Senior Bowl. And interviews. I mean, Cam, if you've ever spoken or if you've never spoken to Cam Jackson, he's a nice person, right? Like he's fun to talk to. You could just feel positivity and the energy. And so I do think that NFL teams are going to like that when they speak to him and they figure out, hey, we might have ourselves a dude here. We just might. And the NFL team is going to take him. I don't know how much he's helped his draft stock, honestly. But I know he's helping it. And guess what? That means that he's making himself some money. Coming back to Florida for one more season after the 2023 year, which, by the way, he accepted a Senior Bowl invite and then decided to go back to college for 2024. That decision made him money because his big thing was, oh, you have no pass rush skill set. And he still doesn't have much of one, but he's progressed there, and that's going to help him. We are going to talk about Chim Dike, who came in and shocked the world with the Florida Gators when we get back with Locked On Gators. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And wide receivers typically make themselves money at the Senior Bowl if you're a good route runner or a super athlete, right? Because, like I've said, you're going to get these one-on-ones, and you know what that means? That you're probably going to go up against press man coverage. And if you could beat that, you look really good. Because that's what NFL teams are looking for when they look at receivers. It's like, yeah, you want a guy who can go sit in a soft spot of the zone. You want that. But when you're at the Senior Bowl, you're looking for, okay, who's the guy where even if they play press man, I can trust him to go beat his man. Okay? So receivers, typically the guys that can do that make themselves money. Whether it's just burning by a DB, whether it's overpowering them, or just having a good release, winning with technique. Happens all the time. There's multiple different ways to make yourself money. Florida Gators wide receiver Ricky Pearsall made himself a first-round pick at the Senior Bowl. Okay? You tell me who was talking about him as a first-rounder, a genuine, legit first-rounder before the Senior Bowl in 2024. It wasn't being done. I was pretty high on him, and I didn't think he was going to be a first-round pick. Like, I was like, yeah, he's a tremendous route runner. I love it. He's dynamic. Great. I just didn't think he'd be a first-round pick. I thought he'd be a second. Wow. He ended up being a first-round pick. Chim Dike, not going to be a first-round pick, okay? Part of that being that he's not as good an all-around athlete as Ricky Pearsall. Ceiling's a bit lower, right? That's still fine. He's making himself some money. Okay. And Chim Dike is going to be someone that was always going to be, hey, he's probably going to be better in the NFL than in college, partially because he's got the special teams tools and experience that one are usually a pretty fun part of Senior Bowl practices. Grant Stewart, if I'm not mistaken, is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer right now, or at least used to be. He is one of my favorite Senior Bowl experiences because I remember when he was running down on kickoff, he was screaming like a banshee with the hair flying. It was crazy. Special teams are fun to watch, okay? Especially at Senior Bowl practice. Chim Dike, great special teams player, right? Great special teamer. His ability to contribute in multiple phases of special teams will help as well. I was talking with multiple people throughout the entire practice when we were talking about Chim Dike. I was like, yeah, like he's someone that contributing as a gunner and returner is huge, not common. And being good at both, not common. Being able to contribute on special teams in multiple phases is going to help you. And that's why I say, yeah, I think that an NFL team is going to find him. Like, I still don't think he's going to get picked until late-ish on day 3. But I feel pretty confident that he's going to have a long NFL career because he does that part of special teams, again, gunning and contributing as a returner, but also he's out here blocking. he is blocking for a receiver. And that's huge, especially when you see more NFL teams go branch and hire the people from the Sean McVay tree and people from the Kyle Shanahan tree. You know what they all look for in receivers? Blocking. And I mean, you could talk about the mentality of no block, no rock, but those guys also just look at it because it's like, oh, well, in order for our offense to work, our receivers need to be able to come down and crack block. Our receivers need to be able to contribute. And all these teams that have not looked at Chim Dike are now going to get a chance to look at Chim Dike. And if you ever heard him speak, he sounds like a very intelligent person. Sounds like he knows ball. Probably going to do well with interviews. I'll ask tonight. We'll see. But Chim Dike is someone that I think NFL teams are going to like for those that nitty gritty stuff, the special teams ability, the blocking as a receiver. But yesterday during the first practice for the Senior Bowl, he also did this crazy thing called he looked pretty good when working in one-on-ones as a route runner. Just running routes, he just looked pretty good. Sure, he's not an awesome athlete. He's just not. And I don't think that he's expected to be. I think long-term in the NFL, he's probably going to be a depth receiver, maybe rotational receiver, probably in the slot, but he's going to contribute in the blocking and special teams phases, and that's going to keep him on a roster for a long while. And by long while, I mean longer than an average NFL career, which is 3.3 years. And then when you look at Chim Dike, you got someone who's got the skill set to last in the NFL. And yeah, like he's not going to destroy people's ankles as a route runner, but he's good enough to create some separation. And he's smart enough as a receiver to sit in a soft spot of his own. Like he can do everything. I don't think he does anything at a great high level, but runs routes clean, knows where he's supposed to be and gets there, contributes on special teams and as a blocker. Yeah, they're going to like him. Like he's going to be a very helpful contributor at the next level, in my opinion. And I do think that getting this opportunity to do this in front of as many NFL scouts and coaches and GMs that are here, I think he's absolutely helping himself make quite a bit of money. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I will see you all next time.